Well, hello, and welcome again to the 2012fad.com. I will be your host for this evening, and my name is Charlie Bluehawk. Last night we talked about I am, and how I think the next stage of our evolution, yours and mine, is not physical, but, mental, spiritual, if you have to use the word. I'm very anti-religion. I don't believe in religion. I believe in reality. And I think why our masters, one of the numerous reasons our masters, junior management in the corporation known as Hate Inc., are trying to poison us, is not simply to kill us. That would be too quick and way too easy. They want to hurt us, and they want to hurt us very, very, very badly for as long as they possibly can, because to our masters, pain, our pain, is like dessert. It's like ice cream with cake. They just love our pain. And for creatures who are, well, I don't like to use the word soulless, because whoever our masters are, they're controlled from somewhere. It's outside of our universe where you and I live. Because Western scientists have finally begun to admit publicly that our universe exists inside of a bubble of energy. Roughly translated, you could call this heaven or a variation thereof. But outside of the universe, what could there be? Well, nothing. That's pretty much a good definition of hell for me. And if our masters, junior management in the corporation run by Satan, Yahweh, are just the masters, servants here, the lowest form of servant, and if the war between the gods, whatever they are, actually happened. In the Christian Bible, it's the war between God and Satan, between Amalek and Yahweh. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's the war of the numerous different gods. Actually, in the Torah, which later became the Christian Bible in a way, there were multiple gods. Not only do our masters want us dead and in pain and misery first, they want to stop us from evolving. And as far as I can tell, to be a god, I'm assuming, the first thing you have to do is you have to be yourself. Nobody else. I am. I am myself. I am no one else. Or as Shiva said, I am Shiva, destroyer of worlds. As you are now, I once was. As I am now, you may one day become. So if we were created by a god or gods in their image, pretty much I would imagine they expected us to follow them. And I can't imagine anything that would drive our masters more insane, with even more insanity, more rage, than to know that you and I are prospering, evolving, growing. See, our masters can't, because they don't live inside of the universe. They live outside of it. They live in hell. And they have this belief that if they can't do it, if they can't own it, then it has to be destroyed. It's hate. And so tonight I thought we might chat about words never to use. And it goes back to programming. You and I, we've been programmed for decades and decades. I'm 53 years old. I've been watching this happen. I didn't realize, of course, what was happening at first. But I seem to see things that nobody else saw. I mean, besides moving between dimensions and all that, nonsense. I mean, just plain old-fashioned day-to-day life things. And I would see, good example. Most of my life I lived in the desert. And in the desert, when it rained, it was nice, but it was also terribly dangerous because there isn't, by definition, a lot of rain in the desert. And we had what we called washes. Now, a wash is sort of like a depression in the sand, which is a temporary river. When it rains, the wash gathers all the rainwater and it becomes a rather fast-moving river, which lasts as long as there's water and it goes away. And with one of the families that I lived with as a child, they started doing construction in the wash. And as a very small child, I'm looking at this and I'm pointing out to people, but that's the wash. Those houses are going to flood when it rains. And of course, the people I lived with told me I was stupid and I didn't know anything about anything and I didn't know anything about business. Shut up. You're stupid. And so I'm standing there thinking, oh, okay. And of course, the houses were built and they were very expensive. They were very pretty. And people bought them instantly. And the first time it rained, the wash filled up with water, and there was a foot or more of water in this whole brand new neighborhood of houses. Now, I saw that clear as day, and yet the people around me just couldn't see it. And of course, I didn't dare point out to them that I told you so. They'd already broken most of the bones in my body by the age of 5. I can't imagine what they would do to me next. Of course, they did. So words that I don't think we should use because we've been programmed to dismiss them automatically, subconsciously, mostly through television. And the phrase we use most often is New World Order. I mean, even as I say New World Order, I can feel a part of my brain just shutting off, going numb. It's because you and I have been programmed, as all the cattle have been programmed, to react a certain way to certain words. I don't think we should say New World Order anymore, simply because it's been programmed into us to ignore it, laugh at it, go to sleep when we hear it, because I can feel part of my brain, I can feel the left hemisphere of my brain right now trying to shut down and go to sleep. Try one more time. New World Order. I can feel it. I think instead of using the phrase New World Order, I think we should call it business. Because when you get really down to cases, it is business. It's the business of hatred. So let's just call it what it is. Let's be very, very precise in our use of words. A fellow sent me a notice on the blog one day and said, I don't like the fact that you call people cattle. We're all people, we shouldn't say that. And I wanted to write back to him and say, dude, I completely understand. I don't like the word either. But it's true. We're cattle. And 98% of us are a waste of skin. It's just a waste. I'm sorry. I really am. But that's just the way it is. We have to call a thing by its name. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's got feathers like a duck, it's a duck. No amount of political correctness is going to change that. Words we never to use, this happened to me, of course, quite a lot when I'm talking to people about these sort of things one-on-one, which I try not to do anymore. But I remember it was very concentrated in New Zealand. New Zealand, being a very small population, was simply inundated by American culture. And I remember this woman was giving me a ride home from salsa class one night, and she asked me what I thought of Obama. And I told her, as much as she could understand about the Manchurian Candidate mind control puppet sort of thing. And there was this big smirk on her face. And she says, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's mind control. That's programming. The way to disable programming is not to respond the way that she has been programmed to believe that you will respond. She's programmed for a response from me that I would become irate, angry, start yelling. Don't ever do that. What I said was, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I deal with reality. The moment I said that, the smirk on her face went away. The programming had short-circuited because she was programmed to expect certain kind of responses. That wasn't one of them. So another term, phrase, words never to use is conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist. No. Don't say conspiracy theory. Say, I deal with reality. I deal with what is. Don't argue with them. Don't try to defend yourself. Don't attack their beliefs. Just say things that they don't expect, that their programming has not prepared them for. It throws their programming off. The mind control, short circuits. They're back into the realm of thinking person for as much as cattle can think. So again, I would highly recommend that the two things never to say. New World Order, no. Say the business of hatred. Conspiracy theory, no. I just deal with reality. Just my thoughts on the matter. And people often refer to our masters as soulless reptilians. Well, that's not helping. The moment you say somebody is a walking, talking lizard in a skin suit, you've lost the argument for obvious reasons. Oh, you saw that on television. Well, you saw it on the TV show V twice now. A TV show about aliens coming to Earth, reptiles, wearing human skin suits, pretending to be human. Their goal was to rape the planet and collect all of us for food. It's probably true, but it doesn't help to say that to the average person. You've lost your audience. So instead of saying reptilians or soulless demons or whatever, it doesn't matter how true it happens to be. Whether it is or not, personally, I have no first-hand information other than the fellow I ran into in a coffee shop for a business meeting on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, or Sherman Oaks, a suburb of Los Angeles in Southern California. Very dark restaurant or coffee bar. I'm sitting across the table from this guy, and he's wearing very dark glasses inside this very dark cafe, coffee cafe. On that side of Ventura Boulevard in the afternoon, we got shade from a little hill that separated us from the basin where you would think Los Angeles is. And I could see through his very, very dark glasses in this very, very dark coffee bar that the whites of his eyes were glowing red. And being very slow, being painfully slow, I foolishly said, you know, the whites of your eyes are red. Are you okay? Are you feeling well? At which point he took his glasses down off of his eyes and perched them down on his nose, leaned forward so I got a really good look, and he said, I'm fine. I think I'm just going through a cleansing. And me in my infinite wisdom said, oh, okay. Took me a few days later to even realize that that was sort of an odd experience. I thought, well, maybe it's just he's being eaten by a demon or something. I realize now he was probably a reptile in a people suit. And this is, again, a guess. I have no idea what he really was. But again, this is one of the terms we should not use, words we should never use. New World Order is business, the business of hatred. Conspiracy theory, no, I deal with reality. Reptiles, I guess you could just say politician. That's pretty much an ugly word no matter where you are in the world. It kind of comes down to the difference in the United States between Republican and Democrat. There isn't any. It's like saying, I like Coca-Cola, you like Pepsi, we're mortal enemies. That's really stupid. It's stupid also because Coca-Cola and Pepsi are owned by the same family. They don't care what you drink, just so long as you drink one of them. Besides the fact that they're also poisonous and filled with all kinds of little spores and microbes called Morgellons. It's a parasitic infestation they're trying to spread throughout the Western world and doing a really good job. You can find that stuff pretty much everywhere. But again, we get down to Republican, Democrat. I don't think these are words we should use. Reptile, reptilian, definitely not a word we should use. We should say politicians. There is a book written called 1984. I believe it's Huxley. No, Orwell. Orwell's book 1984. This was written many, many, many years ago, I think in the 30s. But the key to the book, and it was about mind control, social engineering, Manchurian candidate sort of thing. How do you control a population? Well, the first thing you do is you drug them out of their minds. How do you do that? You poison their food. What else don't you do? You don't educate them. People with a limited vocabulary and no knowledge of history are easily manipulated. Third, you frighten them all the time. Every 15 minutes you have to come up with some new horror to keep them under stress, to keep them off balance. Because someone who's frightened is easy to control. Then you change the meaning of words. What is today called being politically correct means lying. You change what words mean, which means right is now wrong. Up is down. Left is right. War is peace. Unless you know what words really mean, you're lost. You're crippled. You cannot function. I discovered this again in New Zealand. You think that the New Zealanders speak English. They don't. It's a language that is uniquely New Zealand. You could be having a conversation in a business situation with a New Zealander, and you are speaking in what you think is English, and what you think he's speaking in English, but no. The meaning of words is different. Therefore, you can never prosper. You can't survive someplace where you don't speak the language. You think you do, but you aren't. And because you don't speak the language the way they speak the language, the words have different meanings. They know you're an outsider and you're gone forever. A really bizarre example of the meaning of words. I had met the son of Gene Roddenberry, the man who had created Star Trek. And he invited me to I guess it was a going away party for the latest Star Trek series, the last episode. I think it was Star Trek Enterprise. Now, I had been a Trekkie since like 1969 or something, a long time. And they've since called themselves Trekkers. And I thought I was pretty up to speed on everything Star Trek based. So I go to this closing party in Hollywood, of course. I'm astonished to find that I cannot speak to anybody at this closing party because I did not speak the language they spoke. Now, this is in Hollywood. We're all speaking English, a little Spanish, but that's okay. I could not speak to anyone there because the moment I spoke in Trekkie, they answered in Trekker. It sounds like the same language, but the words have different meanings. And the moment they discovered that I did not speak their version of the Star Trek language, I was off in the corner by myself. The one place in the world that a nerd would be isolated and alone, a Star Trek convention, a Star Trek closing party. I did not speak Trekker. I spoke Trekkie. I was out of the loop. For the rest of the night, nobody talked to me. Words have meanings. Unless you speak the right words with the correct meaning, you're out. So in Orwell's book, 1984, which I believe he wrote in the 30s, he was telling us very clearly this was our future. And finally, you have to remove individual identity from people. So we're all gray. We're not shades of gray. We're not red, white, yellow, green, purple, whatever our emotions, whatever our intellect says we should be. We're all the same color, gray. And if you're gray, you're not thinking as yourself. You are not I am. You're a slave. One of the biggest movements in the United States that I can tell is creating a state religion, which we're told is Christianity. It's not. It's the worship of Satan, but we're calling Satan God. If you don't belong to this state religion, you cannot be in the military. You cannot be in the government. You cannot hold political office in Washington. a state religion that glorifies killing. And that's what we have in the United States now. So words never to use. Let's think about words we should use. Satan. Well, you can't say Satan is in charge because people will think you're crazy because they can't think. Even as they see hell on earth in the United States right now, they can't say it. Okay, great. CEO. Chairman of the board. That works for me. That's non-threatening. I don't feel parts of my brain shutting down when I refer to the head of Hate Incorporated as the CEO. And also, it's easier to think of our masters as junior management. What does junior management in a corporation try to do? Well, first of all, they try to be noticed. They want to be noticed by the right people. They want to be seen as movers, shakers, doers, none of which is true. They're just really just drones. Junior management wants to emulate the CEO. That's easy to do. So you say, instead of saying reptilians, say junior management. There's a good solution for you. My brain does not try to shut down when I say junior management of the corporation known as Hate Inc. You can think of office managers in the office under junior management as the Mandarin class, those who serve our masters, the humans who have souls but have decided to choose wrong over right. They have chosen of their own free will to embrace hatred, the religion, the corporate policy of Hate Inc. We don't even have to say religion anymore. We can say corporate policy. Then finally there are the customers, the consumers, the slaves, which would be you and me. I think it's safe to say that slave is a good term for anybody currently in the United States. I actually got my manumission. I actually filed paperwork with Hate Incorporated, which under the laws of Black Magic Ritual they had to accept because I was playing the game by their rules. I didn't figure it out. I had an attorney who had a group. We all paid her to work with us as a team and basically freed us from our slavery. And I've still got it in writing. And I submitted it to the representatives of the corporation, in this case the Internal Revenue Service, a division of Hate Incorporated. And because it was done by their laws, by their rules, they had to accept it. They haven't bothered me since. We can think of Hate Incorporated, Hate Inc., and the seizing of the United States, which was at one point a constitutional republic, which is now a corporation itself. The United States of America, Inc. actually exists. It's a privately owned offshore corporation. You and I don't own any shares. But think of Hate Inc. and its war against the human race as a corporate takeover. It's going really well, by the way. What you do is you create a problem. You then come in with a solution for the problem. You then walk away with the rewards. It's sort of like the real estate bubble that happened in California back in the 70s. Our masters created, junior management created, a rush on the real estate market, gave loans for nothing, all of a sudden cut off your income, you can't afford your property anymore. Our masters, junior management, bought all that property up. They did the same thing in 1929. You have to remember, junior management is not creative. They keep doing the same things over and over and over, expecting the same results. And 9 times out of 10, they seem to be doing it. By the way, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. We'll get to that some other time. So junior management in 1929 was loaning people money to buy stocks. They were discounting the stocks. You could buy $100 worth of stock for a nickel. Hey, this is great. I'm now a paper millionaire. Then they pull back all the jobs. They take all the money out of circulation. It's a depression because all the money has vanished. The money has not gone to Mars. The money is not on Venus. The money has not left the planet. The money is being hoarded by a few people, junior management. Now you don't have a job. And those shares you bought with one nickel that was worth $100, you can't afford them. You have to sell them, and you sell them for nothing. You also lose your home. You lose everything in the world. You consolidate power by creating a problem, frightening people, getting back everything you sold them for nothing. You consolidate power. Junior management did a great job. It's where you get downsizing, layoffs. Then they rob the pension plan, junior management. Of course, the bosses are getting phenomenal raises, 700 million here, 250 million there, in bonuses because they've done such a wonderful job of raping us. Right now, the value of houses and stock in the United States are being driven right down into the ground. Why? Because the money has been taken out of circulation. There's so much money right now in the United States that junior management, our masters, don't know what to do with it all. The Mandarin class, the office managers don't know what to do with all this money. They don't know where to put it. It's out of circulation, but you and I don't have it. It's our money. It's been stolen. So junior management is, again, driving down the value of property in the United States, making sure you don't have a job to pay for what you have. So your $500,000, in fact, a friend of mine, he's got a $500,000 house. It's now in foreclosure. Even though he finally got a job and was finally able to make payments again, the house is in foreclosure. He's lost his job. He'll lose that house. And all the money he's put into it, he and his wife, it's going to be gone. They'll have nothing. Sounds very stressful to me, doesn't it? I've already lost everything. I'm usually a few years ahead of you all. For some reason, I experience all these things ahead of you. My nightmare has ended. Yours just beginning. And I tried everything I could to make certain it didn't happen that way, but you just wouldn't listen. Finally, our masters, junior management, office managers, want to stop evolution of you and me. And they do that by drugging our food, artificial flavoring, artificial filler, artificial coloring, artificial sweetener, diseases, pesticides, anything they can think of to poison our food that you buy at the grocery store. Because when your body is poisoned, your mind is poisoned. Stress, you don't have a job, you don't have a job that's any good, you don't have a job that pays any money, you've got bills you can't pay, and then the final stress inducer, war. War for the sake of war. And it finally made sense to me why. Now, even junior management, our masters, know that a dead brown dwarf star is coming. What it will do to us, cause an ice age, which is we're already in the beginning of the next ice age, whether it flips our planet end for end as it has done every 32,000 years, whether there's simply planetary lightning, as this dead brown dwarf star, like 8 times the size of our world with 3 planets of its own, passes between the Earth and the Sun. And since the universe is electrical, there's going to be an electrical discharge, basically lightning leaping from planet to planet. So much lightning to look like rain. The South Pole melting and flooding all of the major cities in the world. 300 feet of water all of a sudden rising, that's going to get rid of quite a few things. So if our masters, junior management, part of Haight Incorporated, know this is going to happen, why are they trying so hard to hurt us before this event happens? Wouldn't it be more fun for them just to think back, sit back, and give us, real lives, have jobs and afford homes and families and cars, have a nice, pretty, clean world, and then be wiped out? Wouldn't that be more entertaining? I never could figure it out. I think I understand it now. I am. I am myself, I am no one else. And that's what's really making them angry, frustrating them, enraging them. They want to hurt as many of us as they can. They want to kill as many of us as is possible before the dead brown dwarf star flips the Earth end for end. They don't want us to evolve. They don't want us to grow. They don't want us to be ourselves and no one else. They want to hurt us. More than that, they want to stop us from evolving because they can't. And it enrages them with that same kind of gibbering madness I saw in New Zealand over and over and over again. They can never go where you and I are supposed to go. They can never follow us up the evolutionary ladder. And if they can't have it, nobody can. And that's really the basis of Hate Incorporated. That's the business they're in. To make sure that you and I do not become everything that we can be. But as always, the choice is yours. It's up to you. What are you going to do? What decision are you going to make? Is it going to be right? Is it going to be wrong? And you know the difference between right and wrong, just like I do, just like everybody does. Because that's one of the gifts our creators, whomever or whatever they were, gave us. We know the difference. All of us do. Our masters, they serve the CEO. The office managers, the mandarins, they have their own free will, have selected hate as a way of life. They want to make sure you don't have a choice. But guess what? You do. You just have to realize that. I now understand what this ancient Celtic blessing for weddings, for toasts, meant to the Celts thousands of years ago. They wanted you to be who you were and nobody else. May you live as long as you wish. May you love as long as you live. For the 2012fad.com, this is Charlie Bluehart. The 2012 Fad is brought to you by Coffee and Blood, Love Letters Between the Dead, a series of 5 erotica horror novels about a fallen angel finding his way back to regain his own soul, and how the CIA war against the human race, their black magic, captures and traps him in the body of a mind-controlled slave designed to hunt down and to kill their god, their Satan.